I'm going to go through an illustration of what we're seeing today. So this is how most retailers view their inventory. They view that they've got a style, size, color mix, and they believe that their enterprise system is what they're basing all their decisions on. And because of that, they don't have another way of thinking about it. They did a physical count 6 months ago. That physical count was put in inventory. They then received product. In most retailers, they're doing an assumed receipt based on what the warehouse said they shipped, et cetera. And what we're finding is that this is what reality looks like, okay? And again, during a pilot, this is how we quantify what the real situation is in a retail store. Think of it as if you went into a doctor and you had an MRI done. The MRI was not going to fix anything. The MRI was basically to identify what the problem was. Well, that's exactly what a pilot does. A pilot goes in, and actually we can use the pilot as a measurement tool to identify what the real problems are in inventory inside a retail chain. And you can see here the actuality of a retail store is you have items that you think you have 2 of the gray shirts in the medium, and the reality is you only have 1. The reality is you think you only have 2 green t-shirts of the medium, but you actually have 3, and also the same for black t-shirts in medium. And the worst situation is that you're out of stock of an entire size and color, and you don't know it because you think it's there because of distortion in your inventory. So let's dive into that a little bit further. So again, you take that example that comes out. This is what how the problem is exhibited. The ERP, there are 3 categories of errors inside a retailer that we found during our projects. The first one is understatement of inventory, which means you have more units than you think you do. The average that we see in retailers is greater than 12% for this segment, and this error, if you will. So the green boxes around the items represent this. You actually have 3 of the blue small t-shirts. You think you only have 2. The problem with this is that this is a perpetual overstock situation. The other problem with this is related to BOPIS is that this is a third t-shirt that you could expose to an online order that you don't know is even there, so you don't know that you can expose it, especially if you have a threshold of in this case, let's assume your threshold was you were not going to offer this for buy online pickup in store if you had less than 3 of these in the store. So what that means is that somebody who comes in to buy this small t-shirt in blue, you would not expose that for BOPIS at this time, okay? The next error is overstatement of the ERP, which means you have fewer units than you think you do. And this is the situation where the red boxes are involved. And this is pervasive as well. It's greater than 15% of the cases that we've studied across the thousands and thousands of stores and the dozens of pilots. And again, both of these situations come out of problems associated with that physical count and also with the receiving process in the store. And it just cascades over time. And again, the problem here is that you have perpetual shortages and you have canceled orders once you've placed BOPIS orders for the store or click and collect. And so in both of the overstatement and the understatement situations, you're disappointing customers. You're either not exposing the inventory to satisfy the order, or you are canceling the order after you've told the individual that they can come into the store and buy it. And the third is the worst of all situations, which is that you have a frozen inventory, which is a subset of overstatement. This is where you think you have units, but you don't have any, and these are the gray boxes. So you never sell them, so you never replenish, and so you cancel orders because you actually think you have items and you don't have anything there, and you're completely out of stock. And these 3 represent for BOPIS a very, very difficult situation, both operationally and financially inside a retailer. You can see the frozen inventory component we see is around 8%, a little bit over 8%. across the case studies that we've done for retailers. You can't, and the bottom line is you can't run an effective BOPIS process or click and collect process with this type of a problem. And this is, again, I want to restate that this is not something that we've seen in one or two retailers. You can see in the next slide. So basically, these are just a sampling of the retailers that we've worked with in pilots. And across the bottom axis is the number of items in the store, and the vertical axis is the inventory accuracy. And the orange dots that you see there in the middle is where their inventory accuracy is with their ERP system. The blue dots is where they got to with RFID, and the delta between those two represent the overstatement and understatement of inventory down at the bottom in the yellow and the gray. And what this means is that lots of problem with executing BOPIS because your uncertainty is so large, and it's usually worse than normal because the items that tend to have the biggest inventory distortion tend to be the most popular items in the store as well through the studies that we've done.